Hello, welcome to another installment of Hi-Fi Buys Tech Talk. My name is Ed Bouye and I'm one of the sales and design people here at Hi-Fi Buys. Today we're going to talk about arguably the most complex thing that we do in our business, and certainly the most difficult type of cabling that we deal with, which is HDMI. Yes, that happens to be a four-letter word. It stands for High Definition Multimedia Interface. And what it does is move digital audio and digital video between different components. The first standard for HDMI was done back in 2002, and it was very simply written. We had ways to send digital video before that, but the conductors in the cables were very large, the connectors themselves were very big, and there were no provisions for dealing with copy protection, which we'll talk about in a moment. So in 2002, HDMI 1.0 became effective, and it pretty much didn't do anything other than move a digital picture and audio between point A and point B in stereo only. Then in 2004, we started to add higher bandwidth, DVD audio, some testing things, and started to notice some incompatibility when a source had to be connected to a receiver and then had to be connected to a television. And most of this is because of something called HDCP. And believe it or not, that stands for High Bandwidth Digital Content Protection. What it really means is no way to copy, or supposedly no way to copy, information from one device to another. It was put in place to help reduce piracy and things that people were having problems with in terms of the content that people paid a lot of money to create and expected a return on that investment by selling the product. People were circumventing that for a long time. This was an attempt to help stem that or stop it. So HDCP requires that there is a handshake between the source device and the display every 2 seconds. The problem is when we insert an audio-video receiver in the middle, sometimes that handshake gets delayed or turned off or doesn't get the signal exactly where it needs to be. One of the things that HDMI does bring to the table when it works correctly, that's very good for us, is EDID, another four-letter word. This stands for Extended Display Identification Data. Really what it means is the source looks at the display and tries to decide what resolution it's capable of, what types of frame rates it's capable of, and those kinds of things. And it actually tells the source, which in many cases is a Blu-ray player or a cable box, what signal to output. Really good idea on paper, not such a great idea when it comes to implementation. The biggest thing to know about HDMI is that the cable itself is small and has 19 different wires inside of it. That's more wires inside one single jacket than anything we've ever dealt with in our industry. When we start talking about huge bandwidths being moved from point A to point B, HDMI is not all created equal. The limit for 3D is about 10 meters for most people's cables. And don't for a moment think that the differences in cables cannot be seen. One thing I always like to tell people is that a better cable won't make your system look better or sound better. It will not affect the signal as much as cheaper cables will. Anytime we move a signal from point A to point B, whether it's along a circuit board trace or through a cable, we are changing the electrical characteristics of that signal, which actually changes how it sounds and how the picture looks. The longer the cable, the more problems we run into. So companies like AudioQuest that make really good HDMI cables that are very reasonable and affordable have better copper in them, better geometry of how the wires are made, better connectors. As we go up in the process and up in price, we add silver content to the wire, which translates electricity better. We add things like pure silver conductors, better insulators, all these different kinds of things. One of the biggest things that you'll notice in the difference in HDMI is not so much video, but audio. Audio for HDMI is still based on the old Redbook standard for CD, which doesn't deal with dropouts in digital information as well as the video standard does. So if you're interested in getting really great audio out of your system, really good connections on HDMI will make a difference. You also have to be very careful, like I said, about distance and 3D. You also have to be careful about getting over 33 feet. Once we get into that realm, we look at doing other things to get that HDMI signal from point A to point B without losing any picture quality or any of the 3D imaging. So there's a lot of confusion out there about HDMI. The current version, 1.4, which was done in 2009, handles 10 gigabits a second of information versus 2.7 in the old version. It has an audio return channel. It can move Ethernet information between different pieces. We do a lot of things. One thing that we have seen a lot of here recently are HDMI cables that are available for very low prices. And while they may be able to translate a picture and audio over short distances, 6 feet and less, there will be great differences when we get into longer lengths. And remember, there will always be differences in the audio. It's an incredible thing to listen to audio from a Blu-ray player with different grades of HDMI cables and listen to how much more open the sound gets the better the cable we put on it. So what we sell here at Hi-Fi Buys is all product from AudioQuest. This is a Forest cable. It's their entry-level cable. Still very, very good. Does a great job doing all of the audio, all of the video, all of the 3D, everything that we talked about in the 1.4 specification. These cables are around $40 for a 2-meter set, and they go up in price as the cables get longer. If you're interested in getting better cables that sound better, that look better, and do wonderful things for you, we can move into other cables from AudioQuest that actually have pure silver conductors if you want to go that far. So when you're talking about doing a system, as we've done many times here, it is a design. It's something that we look at each individual component, what you're trying to achieve, and try to put the best possible connectors in place to get the most out of the gear that we've decided to use in the system that we've designed to reach your needs. There's some very good information on Wikipedia about HDMI if you're interested in learning more about that. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I hope it helped you in just a little bit in understanding one of the most difficult things that we do, which is HDMI.